Hello and welcome to the Inspiring Women in Asia series, also known as the IWTA. I'm Michaela Connor, co-founder of IWTA and guest host of this edition of the series with Huong Dang, founder of Hopebox Vietnam. Huong's story is an incredible journey filled with courage, passion, dedication, and growth. So welcome, Hung, and thank you, Navas, for sharing your story with us today. How are things in Saigon?
Hi, Michaela. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to this very special espresso. Saigon is good. It's raining these days. I'm quite busy as I will be flying out and going to America this weekend. So it's been a bit hectic, but I'm glad that we can do this today before I leave.
So, Mai, thank you for your time. That sounds very exciting. What are you going to do in America?
So I will be doing a global leadership course in Yale University.
Wow, what an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, it is.
And how long is this for?
It's only for 4 months, so it's an intensive course for middle management level. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, we'll get back to this. Yeah, I'm really keen to hear more. Okay, so I did a little bit of research on your LinkedIn profile, did a little bit of stalking, and you have a lot of experience in social enterprises, and you describe yourself to quote, I'm going to read the quote here. Your thirst for education continuously engages and challenges you. Where does the desire to continuously grow come from?
I think I am surrounded by lots of people, and I reflect on myself how education has had a big impact on myself, my career, my future, my family, and my community. So that's how I think. How I think education is so powerful, and I always wanted to do lots of stuff, but always wanted to start with education. And I think for whatever you do, you need to have that thirst for education, the growth mindset, to give you that opportunity to explore the world, whether in your career or personal development or anything else you do. So I just feel like if we all have that kind of mindset and desire, that we could offer so much, we could offer so much help to the underserved community, and that's how I use it as my weapon to continue to do the work that I do.
That's amazing. And have you always had the thirst for education since you were a little girl?
I think I started quite early. When I was 6 years old girl, I loved reading books, and I loved studying, and I always wanted to become a teacher. So that's how I started. And also I have a role model, my uncle, who is a teacher, a school teacher. So that's why I always get inspired by him. I love reading. I want to be like him, and I want to read a lot. So that's how I love education when I was very little.
Mm. And where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a very small countryside of Vietnam, in the northwest of Vietnam, in a farming family. And my mom was a single mother. I had a brother and I have a sister. And so it's a very small village. And my family, of course, back then was very poor as well. So I left school at year 7, and I went to the city of Hanoi, the capital city of Hanoi, and I became a babysitter.
So year 7. How old are you in year 7? Sorry.
I was 12 years old.
12 years old.
Yeah, I came to Hanoi.
You left your hometown.
Yes.
Wow.
That's how I started my life. So after a few years of working as a babysitter and working for different families, looking after a lot of babies, and earning little money to support my families, I thought I need to go back to school. So I went back to an informal night classes, and that's how I went back to school. I continued to dream that one day I will become a teacher. I wanted to become a university student in Vietnam. That dream didn't come true, but lots of things had turned out. Yeah, so I started to cook sticky rice on the street and sold it on the street, and woke up every 2 a.m. morning, living in under a staircase, and surrounded by a lot of people who are victims of domestic violence, people who are drug user and committed to crime. So it's a lot of gray stuff around that time. And I earned very little money. And I got treated very badly by the local people. So I decided to, and always wake up at 2 a.m. and then go to bed the 12 a.m. the next day, cooking sticky rice and cooking baking cakes to serve it on the street, and went to class at night. So when I turned 19, I literally became a street kid. But when I turned to 19, I was studying year 11, and I met someone who introduced me to KOTO. So KOTO stands for No One Teach One, and it helps street kids and disadvantaged youth in Vietnam to study hospitality, English, and life skill. And then I was very hesitated. I didn't really want to apply because it was too good to be true. So it was lots of doubt. I said to my friends that no, I'm not going because I don't know where my life ends up. They may just, it's just another organization that will treat me. And I said to her 2 months later, that can you give me more information about it? So I made a visit to KOTO, and that's how my life changed.
And so when you first moved to Hanoi, you were a babysitter, and then you wanted to go back to school. So why did you have to leave babysitting? You couldn't study and do babysitting at the same time?
Yeah, so I at that time I worked for a family, a very rich family, and I spent some time on studying, and the family wasn't very happy for me to do that, so they kicked me out of their house one night, just during Christmas time, and it was very cold in Hanoi, and that's why I became a street kid. So I was planning to do both, working and studying, but then they didn't support me, so I had to move. Did
your mom know that you weren't babysitting anymore?
My mom did. So my mom didn't know.
No.
So my mom had no idea because she has never been to Hanoi before. So she has no idea where Hanoi is. And then my brother checked on me. He visited the place where I live when I became a street kid, and he didn't agree. He asked me to go home, and he always begged me, like, please go home. It's just not safe to be here. And I was very persistent. I said to him, like, no, I'm not going home, because by going home, I'm not having any opportunity to study even at informal school. And that's why I decided to stay back in Hanoi. That's the only way that I can get an education, an informal education, because informal education didn't function in our area in the countryside. So yeah.
And how many years did you live on the street?
So I lived on the street for 2.5 years. Before I found out about KOTO. Yeah.
So we'll get to KOTO. I'm keen to hear more. Living on the street, where you would see things that no child should see, I'm sure, living under a set of stairs. Your desire for studying and getting an education must have been so strong. What what strategies did you create to help yourself cope through those tough times?
Yeah.
To keep kind of focused on the studies?
Yeah, I think at that time, I knew very little about having a plan or having a strategy. I think the only thing that kept me hoping was a brighter future. So I always thought that education is the key to change my circumstances, and I worked very hard on that, and I didn't really have much time on studying, but whenever I had chance, I always asked my teacher, I talked to my classmate, and for them to see a very hardworking student is it's very weird, because with that kind of school, people come to get the certificate, not the knowledge.
Yeah.
And I had that thirst for knowledge, and I was really dreaming that one day I will become a teacher. So my strategy was very simple. I had two strategies. So one to go to university, and the other is to go to college. So it's a bit lower grade for going to college. So I always make different expectations. If I couldn't meet universities, then I could meet the criteria for college. And also I always plan to which university I would go to, and also what I want to do in the future. And there were two things that I wanted. Number one is to become a teacher. Number two, if the first plan didn't happen, then I can go to do librarian, because I love books. So I always make a plan that doing something that is related to my dream, that I had a passion for. And also I talk to my teacher a lot as well. So I get motivation from her. I talk to her about my plan, and some of the teacher was really empowering me. And they always said that it's really weird that there is some people in this class is dreaming about studying university, because those who study in my class, they wanted to have a high school certificate only, so to submit to their work. So they just didn't really think that they would go to university. Yeah, so that's how I plan myself.
Wow. So let's go back then. You were 19, and you've been living on the streets for 2.5 years, studying hard. And that was the point of turnaround.
So I was actually 17 when I was on the street.
Okay. Yeah. And you said at 19, someone came into your life and convinced you to go to Koto.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So I was, life back then was very dark, very gray. There was no future. Although I had a very high hope about education, I didn't have anyone to lean on, and I couldn't count on anybody. Alongside from studying, I was, living in a lot of fears around my place, and also thinking of, how can I have a stable job to get through university, even if I get a chance. So I kind of lose hope a bit, and see one of my classmates, when I study with her, I and her rode the bicycle from night school, and it was about 10 p.m. and I said to her that, look, I'm really depressed, and I wanted to have a job, a more stable job. And she said that, how about you go to Koto? And I said to her, like, no, I'm not going. But then, I 2 months later, I couldn't go anywhere. So I asked her to give me that address. So I came to check it out first. And I came back and I talked to my mom. I called my mom and I said that, look, there is a school here. Can I come to study? And she said that no, because you might be ended up being trafficked to China. Because it's just too good to be true. So then I was fighting with my mom. I said that, whatever you say, I'm still going to Koto. And the first moment when I enter into Koto to visit them, I knew that I need to get that opportunity. So that's how I became a photo trainee. And I just didn't expect a lot, because the only thing I expected at that time is a safe place, because where I live, it was too dangerous for a girl like me. So it was like I want a safe place that I can complete my high school and then go into universities. To be honest, until I studied at Koto, I still thought that I'm not going to do that job for a long time. I always said to the founder of Koto that, when I was studying at Koto, and I was the only one who is allowed to do both school, like doing high school at night and daytime I study at Koto. And I promised to him that, I kind of break the rule that, I wanted to do both study. So he said to me, like, you need to make sure that you will not fail any subject at Koto, and which is fine. And then later on, I said to him, like, look, I really want to study university. And he said to me, I trust you and I will help you. So then I continued to speak to him, and I want to study in the foreign trade universities. And I always wanted to do more English training. So I said to him, like, can I do some more English training? And he said to me, like, if you just stop for a while, finish Koto, and then go to work for 1 or 2 years, and then I will tell you what to do next. I can let you know what you need to do next. So when I finished at Koto, I was really transformed. I was really transforming. I became a more confident young woman. Before coming to Koto, I was very vulnerable. I was very low self-esteem. I couldn't speak a word of English. I had no idea about hospitality industry. So when I finished Koto, I became a quite different person. So I finished high school as well, and I worked for the Intercontinental Hanoi Westlake Hotel. And 1 year later, I came back and I said to Jimmy, that the founder of Koto, I said that, can I come to Dubai? And he said, why Dubai? And I said to him, I wanted to come to Dubai and earn some more money and come back and do my university study. And he says that you just have to be patient. Dubai is not a place for you. You have to go to Australia. So, and I said that, oh, is that a really an opportunity? And he said that, yes. So I seek for a scholarship to study IELTS, the English, International English Language System certificate, to be able to go to Australia. So Koto helped me eventually get a scholarship to study in Melbourne. That's how not only my life changed, my family changed, and my community changed, and also it opened a whole new world for me to do higher education because I always dreamed to go to university in Vietnam, and had that opportunity to go to Australian university and institution is even something that I couldn't believe that is true. Yeah.
And how long did you end up staying in Australia for?
So I stayed in Australia for 5 years, a little bit more than 5 years. Yeah, so I study commerce at Box Hill Institute for 3 years, and then I was given 2 awards by the Victorian government for the International Student of the Year, and then it helped me to go to Swinburne University of Technology, and I did my Master of Entrepreneurship and Innovation in Swinburne for 1.5 years. When I finished it, I always dreamed to come back to Vietnam, but I wanted to have some more experience in Australia. So I worked for an IT firm and for a little while, and then I decided to go back to Vietnam to work for Koto, because I knew that I can elevate the impact better when I come back and contribute back to the organization that changed my life, and also the organization that is growing so quickly as well. Yeah.
And when you were little, you said you had 2 strategies: either do university or college, depending. Yeah. So how did you feel when you graduated university? One of those dreams had come true.
Yeah.
What were you feeling when you knew you had passed and you graduated?
I remember on the last day of my university when I hit the button, submitted my last report, and I wrote a very long letter to Jimmy to thank him and to reflect on all of the. Now looking back, I feel a bit emotional. Looking to thank him for all the opportunities that Kodo has helped me. And I felt it was so special. And I look back, it was actually the day I submitted my last report, was actually the same day that for many years ago, that I left school. And the true feeling, it was just so much different. You just can't comprehend. I just couldn't comprehend. I felt so proud as well. I felt like I could do some things that I always dream of. And I also feel that, you know, from that moment, I could be a role model to many Kodo trainees in the future, to give them that hope that they will be able to do the same things that I could do, if they have dream, if they have the desire, and if they are hardworking. So I just feel like, you know, the opportunity is equally distributed. It's for the individual to be able to have that desire to go and grab that opportunity.
What do you think it was that Jimmy saw in you when you came to Koto that first time? That he took you in and really invested in your education. What do you think he saw in you that he thought, you know, this one's gonna go far?
To be honest, at the beginning, he always concerned about me.
Okay.
So because I was very vulnerable, and I was always crying, and if anyone pat on my shoulder, I was like crying, and he understand me really well. And one thing he said to me when I first came to Koto, like after 2 or 3 weeks, he said to me, he called me into his office and talked to me. And whoever got called into Jimmy's office at that time was frightened, because either the trainees that are very naughty to get that lesson. So Jimmy said to me one thing. He says that my door is always open. If you had any trouble, like from now on, my door is always open. So if you have anything that you need to talk, you can come to see me anytime. But I was very, very vulnerable for, I think, those 1.5 years. And he later on, he said to me that, you know, I'm very surprised that you finished Koto, because at the beginning you didn't really show the strengths. So I think later on he really invested in me. I think he was always, and still now, he is always my mentor. So he sees the things that I couldn't see, and the kind of encouragement and empowerment. I remember when I was working at Intercontinental, and I was very nervous, and said to him, like, this is too difficult. And he said to me, like, you know, you can only show up and show yourself. You need to let people know your skills, your experience, your knowledge, and that's how you prove that you are an asset to the organization. So do it. So he really invested in me, but also I always talk to him very openly on what I want to do and who I want to become. So that is, we are really like brothers and sisters, boss and staff, friends, and you know, mentor and mentee. So it's a lot of role that he is playing in my life, and I'm very grateful that that I have done a bit of my work with Koto later on. Yeah.
And you're still involved in Koto, but I see also that you're the founder of Hopebox Vietnam.
Yeah.
Tell us what Hopebox is.
So Hopebox is a first social enterprise in Vietnam that work in gender-based violence area. So I founded Hopebox in 2018, and with the mission to support women who are affected by domestic violence and human trafficking. So what we do is we have a production kitchen in Hanoi that produce cookies, produce gift box, moon cakes, and a lot of stuff. So we sell to the corporate, and we also have, so those women who are working for us and working with us are actually women who are survival of domestic violence. And so that's the enterprise side, is where we do our business. We make our products and we sell it to our customers. And the foundation side, we have the training program in pastry and communication skill, compassion, communication, trauma healing, yoga for the women for 6 months. So that is fully funded by. So we got the few grants from New Zealand embassies, Canadian embassies, the Netherlands embassy is funding us at the moment to implement that program. And in the future, we continue to fundraise to be able to offer more sport for the women. So that's how we work. We used to have a cafe where we have a lot of travel. We have a lot of tourists came to dine and to have social impact study tour. But because of COVID, we have to close it down. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to resume the cafe. Yeah.
That's an amazing enterprise. What are the top 3 things you're really proud of?
I think I'm very proud of my I'm very proud of my women's at Hopebox.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of my sister in particular. She is my inspiration to open Hopebox. She used to be a victim of domestic violence and she fought for it. With my support and the Hopebox support, she became the head chef and trainer at the moment. So she continued to carry on that legacy and train other women and be a role model. I think that's really important as well. And I'm very proud to be, to be able to do the things that I used to think is not given. It's not for me. It's for somebody else who is more. He is more advantaged. Who is coming from the wealthy families. So I am very proud, to do the works that not many people would have the courage to do it. People would, lots of people would be preferring to do, to work in commercial business, to run a business that generate a lot of incomes, revenues. But for me to do some things that is impactful is more important, and it's not always a very how do I say? It's not something that is easy. But I'm proud that I have that courage to go on that path, and also to travel the world to explore myself and see what I want to do. And coming from a disadvantaged background, I don't want to be in that victim position. I don't want to say that because I'm coming from a poor family, then I can't do this and I can't do that. I would always guide myself, like with little guidance from my parents. I would always have to stand up and say, I can do this, I can do that. And I think building up on that confidence and that courage is, it takes a long time as well, but I'm very proud that I have done something about it. And also like to be a role model for the Hopebox women, for my nieces who are going to become women in the future, or for the trainees at Koto, for the alumni at Koto who are now, aiming to go to Australia to study, to go overseas to work. So people try to do different stuff, but if they have someone who can look up to or get advice from, that would be something that I think it's a way for me to give back. Yeah.
And what would be, if you can use 2 words to describe kind of your best advice for women in the travel and hospitality industry that might have just started out, they might be studying, or maybe they're already working in the industry, they're having a tough time. What advice would you like to give them?
I think, so I think hospitality and travel agent is a very exciting industry. Like I think if I wasn't given an opportunity to work in hospitality, I couldn't build up my skills, and I couldn't transfer it to other industry. So I think it's a great start, and there are so much opportunity. You can explore the world. You can support so many people. You can utilize your skill to make an impact. without we can relate to COVID, without travelers, like many other industries are dead. So the work that you guys are doing is really important. So it's not just someone who is starting up a social enterprise that is more important than what you are doing. Is our job is equally important, that contribute to make some other people's life better. So for those who started the career, don't worry if you think that in a few years time you will leave the industry, you go to do something else. It's fair. It's actually just fair. If you think I changed my career from hospitality to marketing, but just to have that start is great, and keep the growth mindset, to learn, to continue to learn, because the things that you are learning today is different for tomorrow. Things are changing with digital, with innovation. There are so much opportunity, but it's also changing so fast. So keep that mindset to keep learning. Have a mentor and a coach to help you build up your skill. Improve from the weakness. And it's very important to know what we are heading, what we are good at, and what we need to improve, and where we are heading to having that clear direction is always important as well. And I think for those who are in the industry for a few years, are in the management level, it's so important to lift somebody up. It's not just about us that we climb our ladder to become a leader, and it's so important to know that I was in somebody else's position before, or this person was in my position before. I know how that feels. So lifting somebody up is really important to grow the next generation of leader. We can't be here all the time, or maybe one day we will change. So it's really important to grow the next leader of the industry. Yeah.
Great. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Huong, for your your story today and sharing it with us. Really appreciate it. All the best for your journey in America, and can't wait to follow that growth that you'll have next on your agenda. Thank you so much for sharing. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.